Y'all wanna do something fun with us?
Look at these cute boys sitting here like good little angels. Do you know how sometimes we get presents in the mail?
Yeah.
It's where we put things on a list that we might like to have someday and people can give them as gifts. Me and Daddy put something on the Amazon wish list that we thought you would like. A couple of people named Bob and Melissa bought you a present off of the wish list and we're gonna go outside and see it. It came in the mail and Daddy set it up last night, okay?
Down the yard.
Can y'all say thank you?
Thank you.
It's about 55 out here in the greenhouse. Today was super overcast and drizzly throughout the day. I started a lot of seeds today, which I will take you guys downstairs and show you here in just a second. I've been really closely monitoring the greenhouse temp because I want to be sure that whenever I move my starts out here, that it's going to be a safe place for them. So we had access to a dump trailer the last couple of days, and if you've ever done any sort of farming efforts where you need equipment, you know that whenever you have equipment available to you, you use it. You kind of have to rearrange your schedule sometimes, and for us, we have needed several things but not had the ability to go get them. So having access to the dump trailer meant that's what Maya has been doing pretty much all day today and most of yesterday. Spotted pig is hollering at me. So we got our big pile of super soil, that's 7 yards. Multiple loads of mulch here, and as you can see here, 3 loads of gravel. That gravel is what we were waiting for to start the window greenhouse project. We needed that to put as the floor right at the beginning. So now that we have that, we can get started on it this weekend. I don't know about you, but I am really excited about the prospect of that window greenhouse. Since the other greenhouse is still a little cool and the window greenhouse isn't ready yet, I am germinating all of my early starts down here in the basement. Of course, I've showed you guys my dwarf tomatoes. Now they're coming along nicely. As you can see, here's one of the little 6-cell packs. At this point, most of them have germinated. I only have one variety that hasn't germinated a lot, but I can still see, like this one, see there on the corner, it's got one popping up and it already has one up. So we might still get several of those still. Now today, I did all of these. And this is almost all of the tomatoes which I will start. Each one of these little packs has several seeds in it. After they germinate, I will separate them out into individual cups. Some of these might have 10 or 15 plants in them. Those are all on heat mats right now on the shelf. And we have another light we're gonna hang up underneath there. As soon as Maya gets home, he's running around doing the dump trailer today. Another thing that I started today, which I'm really excited about, is some microgreens. I did not do a microgreens video yet. I've never grown microgreens before, so I actually did not make a video of starting these. I am using my Bootstrap Farmer trays, which I learned about from Mike Dixon, the Fit Farmer, and I will link his channel. He's the one who originally like sold me on microgreens. He's all about them, and I met him in Santa Rosa when I went out to Baker Creek Seed Expo in the fall. And I have been intending to start microgreens since then. Finally did it today. I'm using a new product I've never tried before. Obviously I've never tried it, never grown microgreens, but it's like a bamboo mat, so you can grow them without soil. And I like the idea of that because I think it would just be really clean and easy, but I don't know. I have no idea if I like it. So there will be progress on that. As soon as I get some progress on it and feel confident in it, I'll show you guys the next time I start a tray, which should be here in another week and a half or so. For my first foray into microgreens, I did 1 tray of kale, like blue curled kale, and 1 tray of radishes, early scarlet globe radishes. I know that I love kale microgreens because I've had those and really enjoyed them. I know that I also love radish, and so I'm assuming that I will enjoy radish microgreens. But I'm really looking forward to integrating microgreens into our diet. I think my kids will eat them well, but I've also just seen them, you know, on tacos and as a topping for eggs, just lots of different really useful ways. I think that this could be a really great thing. And you know, I was watching Mike's video this morning where he and his daughter Selah were talking about microgreens. I was checking to make sure that I wasn't sewing them too thick, and he said he has his kids do this is the job that they do. And I thought this is really great because I could easily teach my children to do microgreens, to restart them, to harvest them, to make sure that they're staying moist and that they're getting the light that they need. That's a great kid gardening job, and my goal is always to instill a love of gardening in my children. So I made a little bit of a mess in here. There's kind of soil on the floor and stuff, but I'm not done yet, so I haven't started cleaning up. Next thing I'm going to be planting are my peppers. These are all my different peppers that I'm starting, really kind of a lot of those. And another thing I'm going to be starting down here in the basement are some different flowers and herbs. Here are a couple that I'm really looking forward to having in the cottage garden area. And look at this. Is this gorgeous? I am a sucker for variegated foliage. It's the weirdest thing. I don't know what it is, but whenever I see a variegated option for a plant, I'm like, give me that one. Of course, I also have spotted goats, a paint horse. So I'm kind of maybe seeing a pattern about myself. I don't know. I did get this variegated coxcomb though. Really excited about this. This is one that you can sew in place. It doesn't say to start ahead of time. I may try just to see and play around with it. And I think I've settled on what I'm going to put. We're building the arch around the garden gate, the door. We have that pink front door. And these are variegated morning glories with splashy foliage and flowers. And I think that might be what we do around that door. Battling bindweed last year did give me a little bit of a bad taste about morning glories. However, I still do love morning glories that are there on purpose. February 15th is historically seed starting day for me. It might not be for you. You really just need to look at when the Farmer's Almanac is estimating your last frost date. But mine usually sits around early April, and February 15th, of course, is in that 6 to 8 week sweet spot before our last frost. So that's time for me to start my tomatoes and eggplants and peppers and flowers and herbs in a lot of cases. And I don't know, it's funny. I actually count down to this day. Yeah, it's still cold outside. It's drizzly. Everything hasn't greened up yet. However, the Bradford pears are blooming here in Arkansas, and I think the daffodils are starting to form heads, which is crazy because we could still get a foot of snow before the winter actually packs up her bags and leaves. Having the seeds in the soil, for me, it's the moment that the garden starts to come back to life. There's something to look forward to. There's something to tend and to look after. I love February 15th for that reason. I look forward to it all winter. It's kind of the end game for me for the dreary and gray time of year. I think the thing I'm having the hardest time figuring out what to start is flowers. I have a lot of flower seeds. It's something that I've kind of collected over the years because I love them. I love flowers so much. Now, I haven't grown a ton of flowers. I've grown really kind of the more basic stuff. Last year, I had quite a lot in my garden. I had nasturtiums, borage, calendula, sunflowers, marigolds, and zinnias. And I loved all of those. I seriously want to implore people to consider putting flowers in their vegetable gardens. Companion planting can get so confusing when you're trying to figure out what to put next to what. The main thing that it comes down to for me with companion planting is make it diverse. Diversity in the garden is a really good thing. Having diversity in your garden provides a habitat for beneficial insects. That is the biggest benefit to diversifying your planting. There are some things that will help each other, but a lot of times the companion planting books, for instance, one book that has a lot of great information in it is Carrots Love Tomatoes. And that's a great book. It's a really good resource. However, the title itself is a little misleading if you live in the South, because here you can't grow carrots and tomatoes at the same time. Our summers, whenever the tomatoes are growing, it's far too hot to grow carrots. My guidelines when it comes to planting my garden diversely and companion planting is to just find those flowers and herbs and the things that provide a good home for beneficial insects and that draw in pollinators, and spread them all throughout the garden. I do plant my tomatoes in long rows, but they're not all together. I like to space things out here and there. More than anything for me though, the rule in companion planting is just diversify, which is why I'm really wanting to branch out in flowers this year. I'm wanting to try new things. I'm actually having to chill out a little bit because I'm finding myself wanting to grow so many flowers that, you know, I can't deviate from the fact that the whole reason why we built a big garden was to grow our own food. I've just completely taken over my entire basement for seeds, just all over, seeds everywhere. I've never started as many seeds as I'm starting this year. Previously, I would do plant cells, but not on this large of a scale. And we're doing the second greenhouse, so I'm starting a lot of extra stuff because I'm gonna have a space for it. We're also doing the cottage garden and the garden in the back. So I'm probably starting way more than I need. Another thing I am doing to pass these cool drizzly days, I'm figuring out what all I'm gonna start. I'm starting things down here in the basement, and soon we'll be starting more out in the greenhouses. Maya's gonna be working on building the window greenhouse this weekend, and I am going to start cleaning out the garden and amending the beds with super soil. Once that's all done, I can actually begin planting. Now that's gonna be things like peas. Those can be direct sown whenever it's still frosty outside. Kale, some head lettuces. I'm really excited about this. Is it Celtis? Isn't that kind of neat? This is something that I'm gonna be direct sowing out in the beds. Calendula, I'll be direct sowing those. I'm also gonna start some of those inside because I wanna be able to have them at plant cells and then possibly be able to fill in some spaces with them. I'm hesitant to just direct sow everything simply because I'm still working out the garden layout for this year. I don't know where I'm gonna put all the different stuff. I will be sowing carrots, multiple different kinds of carrots throughout the garden in different places. Carrots are a little difficult to grow here in the spring because as soon as it gets hot, they're done with. They really do better as a fall crop here. However, I do usually sow some in the spring just because I miss having them. I'll sow a lot of radishes starting here just in the next week or two. And I will go ahead and direct sow some baby green mixes, like salad mixes. So I just got my new stuff in. I had an order in with Baker Creek that came in this week, and that's where I got like that variegated coxcomb and some of those little things I was really excited about. Butterfly peas, I've talked to you about these. I think that I'm actually going to give up one of my arch trellises to these this year. I've never grown flowers on an arch trellis before, but the butterfly pea actually is listed as having the purpose of being a good tea to calm the nerves, and it's also just beautiful. It can be used as a natural food dye. So one of the arch trellises this year is going to be covered in these. I told you I'm having a hard time not just filling my garden up with flowers. I'm just so fascinated by them all. They're all so amazing. And another thing that is going here direct sown very soon is this 1,000 head kale. Have you guys seen the pictures of this thing? Massive kale, huge leaves. Really pumped to try that. Here we go. My seed stuff, I told you, is absolutely everywhere. Over here on the bed, and then in here. This one's the worst. This room is the worst right now. Bless sweet Maya's heart. Let me tell y'all right now, it is an act of love that my basement looks like this right now. Last year, the basement was just storage and junk, pretty much. We had just a whole bunch of stuff down here in storage from people who had lived with us. And I had to do all my seed sorting on the kitchen table. So maybe Jeremiah is just remembering that, and maybe that's why he's just turning a blind eye to my massive mess down here in the basement right now. But he is so, like, Maya is very orderly, so this kind of chaos that I understand and that makes sense to me makes his eye twitch a little bit. Even though this is a demanding season of planning and figuring out exactly what we're going to do, before too long, all of this will be sorted out. It'll be packed away. I'll have my seeds out and set aside to direct sow. And you know, all these plants will be moved out to the greenhouse. Before you know it, I will be shooting these videos every day in the garden instead of in the basement. I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to that. All right, guys, thank you for hanging out with me today. I have these moments of being like, oh my gosh, they're gonna get so tired of seeing the same seedlings every day. But I think that maybe if you're like me, you don't. I know that I'm coming down here a dozen times a day just to check and see if anything else has popped up yet. It's such an incredibly exciting time of year. So much promise. I bless you guys. Until next time.